Do you know what actually happens inside your browser when you visit a website? How does the server know you're already logged in? Or why stealing someone's cookie means stealing their identity? Well, if the answer is no, you'll never fully understand hacking. That's because most of the web-based attacks you'll encounter in your life, whether that's hijacking sessions or injecting malicious scripts, all depend on how browsers actually work. So if you don't understand that, you'll just be a script kiddie following tutorials blindly. That's why in this video, we'll take a look at everything from how websites remember who you are, to where your data actually lives in the browser, and how understanding all this will make everything else in web hacking click. So let's get started.
Disclaimer.
This video is for cybersecurity enthusiasts and is for educational purposes only. It does not provide step-by-step instructions on how to perform attacks, but rather explains the concepts behind how browsers work. Black hat hacking is highly discouraged and can result in serious legal consequences.
Chapter number 1. What happens when you visit a website?
Okay, so starting with the basics, before you can call yourself a hacker, you first need to understand what your browser actually does behind the scenes when you visit a website. So when you type something like youtube.com in your browser first contacts something called a DNS server, which is like a phone book for the internet, to look for what IP address is associated with the server of the website you're trying to connect. The reason why it does this is because computers on the internet don't speak domain names, they only speak IP addresses, and so once your browser has the IP address, it then needs to connect to that website's server, and this is done through something called TCP or Transmission Control Protocol. TCP is basically a network protocol that confirms both sides are online and ready to communicate, and so once this fact is established, both sides then secure their communication through encryption, but this is only done if the server of that website allows HTTPS connections in the first place. But once both sides are online and have established a secure connection, your browser then sends a request to that website's server, and asks it to send back everything it needs to render that page, which may include multiple HTML, CSS, and JavaScript files. Now if we want to see all of this happening in real time, we can use something called DevTools, which is basically a hidden panel built into every browser that lets you see everything behind the scenes. So to open it, you can just right-click anywhere on a web page, and then click Inspect. Now DevTools gives you a bunch of different tabs depending on what you're trying to analyze, but since we're analyzing network activity, let's head over to the network tab right here. So I'll type youtube.com in my browser, and as you can see, there's a bunch of requests that just fired, which are all the files my browser requested from YouTube's server, including the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript files. Now if I click on the first request right here and go to the headers tab, you can see a remote address right here, which is the IP address for YouTube that DNS gave us, the one that our browser actually connected to. Now if I go to this IP address, you can see that it redirects us to google.com, and that's because YouTube itself is hosted on Google's servers. So our browser first contacted Google's servers, and then Google's servers decided to service youtube.com, particularly because our browser mentioned that in its request headers right here. Next if I go to the timings tab, you can see the entire process broken down. So here's the DNS lookup, which is the time your browser took to ask the DNS server for the website's IP address. Here's the initial connection, which is the time TCP took to confirm both sides are ready. And then here's the SSL connection, where both sides established a secure encrypted connection to communicate securely. Now the reason why knowing all of this matters for hackers is because by now you know that when you visit a website, your browser isn't just opening a web page. It's communicating over a network, downloading files, and executing code, which makes all of these steps a potential point where things can be intercepted or manipulated. So for example, a hacker may manipulate the DNS server your browser depends on to return a fake IP address, which can redirect you to a phishing page, or they may bypass encryption to intercept the files your browser downloads and inject malicious code into them. Now if you're not sure about where this DNS server is hosted or how hackers can actually bypass encryption, I'd highly recommend watching these videos by clicking on the I button above.
Chapter number 2. How does the server know it's you?
Okay, so now that we know what actually happens behind the scenes when we visit a website, the question is, how does the server know it's us, and keeps us signed in or has our recommended videos and algorithm saved? Well, you see, when you visit a website for the first time, the server of that website gives you something called a session ID, which is basically a unique identifier assigned to you, that your browser then saves internally as a cookie. This cookie is then attached to every request your browser sends to that website, and this is basically how you stay signed in or how the server remembers you. Now if we quickly go over to the application tab here, delete the stored cookies for youtube.com, and quickly refresh the page, you can see that we're now logged out. So this is the proof that your cookie is your identity. Now the reason why this matters for hackers is simple. If someone can steal your cookie, whether through installing a rogue extension on your browser, gaining physical access to your device, or performing cross-site scripting attacks that we'll cover next, they can become you. They don't need your password or go through 2FA, but can simply take your cookie, paste it into their browser, and the server will treat them as you. On the flip side, if a hacker wants to hide their identity from a website, they can simply clear their cookies or use Incognito mode along with a VPN, as Incognito mode starts with a clean state each time. But there's a problem. You see, cookies aren't the only way websites can identify you. Even in incognito mode, your browser is constantly leaking information about you, exposing things like your screen size, installed fonts, or even your operating system. And when all of this is combined, it creates something called a browser fingerprint. This browser fingerprint is often unique enough to specifically identify you. And if you're interested in learning more, you can watch this video by clicking on the I button above.
Chapter number 3, your browser trusts anyone.
Okay, so now that we know how websites identify you through cookies or your browser fingerprint, there's one more thing you need to understand, which is that your browser will run any code a website gives it, without making sure whether it's safe or not. So for example, if I open up DevTools, go to the console tab here, and type in a simple JavaScript command, you can see that my browser just executes it, without making sure if this code is malicious or not. The reason why this matters for hackers is because if a hacker can find a vulnerability in any website, they can inject malicious JavaScript code into that website, and your browser will run that code without any questions asked, allowing the attacker to steal your cookies, capture your keystrokes, or even perform actions on that website as if they were you. So this exact technique where a hacker injects malicious code into a website is called a cross-site scripting attack, and it's one of the most common vulnerabilities on the web. Now while there are some cookies which are protected with an HTTP-only flag, which basically tells the browser to not let JavaScript touch this cookie, not every website implements this properly, and even if they do, there's other data stored in your browser like local storage and session storage that JavaScript can always access, so hackers can just target those instead. Now you might be wondering, if my browser just runs any code, can a hacker use XSS to access my files or hack my entire system? Well, the answer is no. That's because your browser is sandboxed, meaning it's isolated from the rest of your computer, and code running inside your browser can't escape to your files or install malware. But what about other websites? Can XSS on one site steal cookies from another website? Well, the answer is again no, and that's because of something called the same origin policy. Same origin policy is a security rule built into your browser that makes sure that code running on one website can only access that website's cookies or local data, so that even if a hacker runs XSS on some random website, they can't use it to steal your Gmail or Facebook cookies or data. Now while there might be some exceptions and workarounds that hackers can exploit, like CSRF attacks or CORS misconfigurations, those are deeper topics you can explore on your own now that you understand the fundamentals. Anyway guys, so that's it for the video. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments section down below, and I'll see you in the next one.